and no one knew who the money went to.
Dude, it's wild how life beats you down sometimes. You work hard, follow the rules, and still end up being broke. That's usually when people stop playing fair and start finding their own shortcuts to luck.
If you're old enough, you might remember that McDonald's used to run a lottery thing called the Monopoly prize game. Basically, McDonald's partnered with Hasbro to give away houses, cars, luxury cruises, or the grand prize of $1 million to one out of every 150 million people who ate at McDonald's.
The game Monopoly has come to life at McDonald's. Win a McDLT, Coca-Cola, or $1 million.
McDonald's didn't just sell food, they sold a fantasy. Everyone thought they were one bite away from fortune, like $1 million dream stuffed in a paper bag.
These Monopoly game pieces and instant win cards were attached to drink cups, french fry packets, burger boxes, and even on advertising inserts in magazines. All you had to do was find the right set of properties or an instant win piece and you could walk away with anything from a free soda to an entire house and more. It was a genius marketing tactic. All over the US and Canada, people were going crazy until it all went wrong. Armed robbers would even hold up restaurants and force employees and customers to hand over their Monopoly game pieces.
Bro, imagine spending a few bucks on Mickey D's and suddenly you're realizing you're holding a ticket worth the house. That kind of temptation would mess with anybody's head. Temptation's the first step to chaos. It's how ordinary people start crossing lines they swore they never would, until money makes them bleed for it.
Americans and Canadians everywhere were scrambling to become overnight millionaires, but what was weird was that it seemed like no one ever won. Sure, there were odd winners here and there, but for a game that was supposed to have 2 people win $1 million a year, things were a little quiet. A little too quiet. Prizes were disappearing and no one knew why.
I see it all the time. Folks at gas stations blowing money on scratch-offs, chasing a miracle. McDonald's just dressed that same gambling addiction in a combo meal and called it happiness.
McDonald's was giving away $2 million a year, but no one knew who was winning that money. Were people hiding their identities so their friends and family wouldn't know? Was the game rigged? Not according to McDonald's. They said they didn't choose who won. An independent security company was in charge of sending the winning pieces to locations around the US. 12 years and $24 million later, and no one knew who the money went to. And it all centered around a guy named Jerome Paul Jacobson. See, Jerome Paul Jacobson found a way to scam McDonald's out of $24 million over 12 years.
Crazy thing is, people never notice when the house changes the rules. They just keep playing thinking it's luck. That's the real game, selling the illusion that you ever had a chance. And the cruel part, the illusion works best when you're desperate. The hungrier the player, the easier it is to convince them the system's fair.
In 1981, Jerome's wife got him a job as a security auditor where she was working too. At that job, Jerome got the reputation of being dedicated, having irreproachable work ethic, and coming down hard on anyone who broke the rules. He was the perfect security auditor and worked himself up to where he was in charge of the firm's most important clients.
They always say hard work speaks for itself. Yeah, mostly in silence. The system loves obedient workers because they never ask who's cashing in on their loyalty.
Simon Marketing. Simon Marketing just so happened to manage $500 million worth of marketing for none other than McDonald's. When the McDonald's Monopoly game started in 1987, Simon Marketing was put in charge of manufacturing and distributing the game pieces, and Jerome made sure they fulfilled this job without a hitch. He even inspected the shoes of the workers to make sure they weren't trying to steal any pieces. Workers wouldn't be allowed to go to the bathroom alone, and Jerome ordered everyone in the factory to be under watch 24 hours a day.
This setup is just like my old software job. Every keystroke watched and every move tracked. You stop creating and start surviving under eyes that never blink. That's the kind of system Jerome built. So airtight, nobody could breathe without clearance. You lock things down that hard, eventually you stop trusting everyone, even yourself.
A year later, Simon Marketing got Jerome to quit his current job to work for them. He was just that good. Jerome was now put in charge of taking care of the biggest winning game pieces. He would take possession of them, seal them in envelopes with tamper-proof tape, fly out to McDonald's factories in first class, and place them on food packaging that would be sent out to McDonald's locations. He even had the idea to add watermarks to the tickets so they couldn't be faked. So much trust was put into one man, and for years he never thought once about abusing his power.
History is littered with trusted gatekeepers who quietly redirected fortunes. Auditors, clerks, and banks put that much control in one pair of hands, and the system stops being a safeguard and becomes an opportunity.
That is, until he found out the system was rigged anyways. One day Jerome noticed that whenever Canada was chosen as the destination for an instant win tickets, it would immediately be scrapped and rerouted somewhere in the US. Simon Marketing was rigging the game. This is an extremely important turning point for our guy Jerome. Think about it, he spent his entire life struggling, only to find out his entire existence was based on a lie, on a rigged system. One can only imagine how disillusioned he felt.
Funny thing is, you grow up thinking systems are meant to protect people, but most are built to protect themselves. By the time you catch on, you've already became another gear, keeping it turning. Yeah, Jerome didn't invent the game, he just became its reflection. When you build a whole world that rewards rigging, don't be surprised when somebody learns to play it better than you.
So he collected the information on the rigging and kept it in his back pocket for later. Not long after, a set of anti-tamper stickers were accidentally mailed to his house. These were seals for the game piece envelopes, and it was the only thing he needed to rig the game in his favor, and he got right to work.
It's strange how corruption doesn't start with greed, it starts with access. Give one man the keys long enough, and even integrity starts to look negotiable.
Whenever he was on a flight to drop off the game pieces, an independent auditor, usually a woman, would tag along and watch him. The only place she couldn't follow him was the toilets, so that's where he made the swap. He would open the envelope, remove the instant win card, replace it with a less valuable piece, and then replace the tamper-proof tape, and no one was the wiser.
Mr. Wilson, how much money you think he was holding on to? Enough to change lives. Each envelope carried a couple million prizes. Odds of receiving one, practically zero.
Now there was just one last problem to solve in Jerome's rackets. He couldn't cash in the game pieces himself. McDonald's would want pictures and interview, and then they would realize that he was the main guy in charge of the game and he would be exposed. So he turned to his friends and family. Jerome gave his brother a winning piece worth $25,000, then he gave his local butcher one that was worth $10,000 in exchange for $2,000 of the earnings. Jerome recruited his clients at random in his states. A guy he met on the plane, someone from his barbershop. It was always random, which made it difficult for cops to connect the dots.
It's wild how money could turn crime into commerce when you dress it up right, give it structure, paperwork, and middlemen, and suddenly theft looks like strategy.
He would sell game pieces to people up front or take a percentage of their winnings after they claimed the prize. Then he would arrange for his clients to travel out of state, rent an apartment, a car, pay bills, all to make it look like they really lived in the state they claimed the prize from. Jerome was making big money, but then he met a member of the Colombo Mafia family, a wise guy by the name of Jerry Colombo. Then, the operation just got bigger.
Once you bring the mafia into your business, it stops being about money. It becomes about leverage. You don't just owe them favors, you owe them control. Greed spreads like rumor, quiet at first, then impossible to stop once it hits the right ears.
Instead of selling only the $1 million prize pieces, Jerome started stealing other prizes too. He sold Colombo the winning ticket for a Dodge Viper. And with his new crime family connections, he wasn't just selling to his neighbors or family anymore. He was selling to mob members, pimps, drug dealers, anyone with the money to afford these grand prizes. Every time these people claimed their prizes, they avoided any publicity. They obviously wanted their privacy. But after 12 years of every winner refusing to show their face, people started to get suspicious.
When you bring dirty hands into your business, don't expect clean results. Once they're in, the mess spreads faster than money.
By 1998, almost all of Jerome's family members had cashed in on some kind of game piece, and Jerome finally got to enjoy the good life as a true racketeer. He was spending his hard-earned cash on every luxury product he could get his hands on. He bought land all over the US, started an antique car collection, and paid for his friends and family to go on expensive cruises.
I know it's wrong, but with that kind of money, I'd start thinking differently too. First thing I would do is buy my mom a house, and then stack the rest somewhere nobody could touch it. Yeah, everyone says they stay humble till the zeros hit their account. That's when you find out what kind of person you really are.
Jerome's neighbor watched in amazement as the number of cars he had just kept going up, often joking about where the winning tickets were going to. But no one ever expected he was doing anything wrong. He just didn't seem like the type. And Jerome kept raking in the money. A
house, a car, and a diamond. Different things. Same dirty hands behind them. Nice stuff doesn't erase how it was gotten.
In March 2000, an anonymous caller told FBI Special Agent Dent that a man named Uncle Jerry was rigging the McDonald's Monopoly game. The rat? Probably someone from the Colombo crime family. Agent Dent immediately called a McDonald's spokesperson to share the news and begin the investigation. Suddenly, a lot of questions came bubbling to the surface. Why did none of the winners want to go public? Where are they now? And if this Uncle Jerry was rigging the game, who else was involved?
If the mafia is snitching now, that means things got real messy. You know it's bad when criminals start calling cops. If I knew I was facing 15 years, I can't lie, my head was spinning too. Most people talk tough till they see that cell door waiting for them.
Worried, McDonald's suspended the competition in 2001.
We really trusted them to run the game for us. We had to end the relationship to gain the trust back with our customers.
They quickly identified Uncle Jerry as our guy Jerome, but the FBI needed proof, so they launched Operation Final Answer. Operation Final Answer involved months of surveillance on Jerome and his associates. The group had become so comfortable with their methods that after 12 years they never expected the FBI to be watching.
You never realize how fast everything can vanish. One call, one whisper, and the whole empire built starts bleeding out in front of you. That's when power stops feeling like control and starts feeling like a tick, tick, tick countdown.
They installed a wiretap on Jerome's phone, which led them to a huge ring of psychic strip club owners and convicts. FBI surveillance even trailed Jerome all the way to South Carolina, where he met with a guy named John Davis. The FBI couldn't catch the transfer of the winning piece on tape, but 8 days later, the McDonald's rep called Agent Dent and told him that someone had called in to claim that they found the winning piece. The winner? John Davis, the man Jerome just sold to.
What's the point of snitching when you're already eating? You ruin the score and starve yourself too. Greed don't just eat, it consumes. Once it's full, it starts devouring the hands that feed it. That's how every empire dies, swallowed by the very beast it created.
Now the FBI had everything they needed. More than 50 people were arrested and tried. Jerome Jacobson was interrogated for 6 hours, during which he confessed to all the charges against him. He admitted to having stolen most of the big winning pieces over the past 12 years, and in exchange for his confession, Jerome would accept 15 years in jail. All his luxury cars and property were seized. And Simon Marketing, the company that was in charge of the Monopoly game, it was dissolved. It was one of the biggest, most complex forms of mail fraud in history.
He wanted to be the man who beat the game, but all he proved is that no one really does.